Hello beautiful beings, Mim from Mystic Pathways here. It's that time again to speak about a spirited life. So now we're up to Module 3, Fine Tuning, Chapter 7, Empowering Beliefs, Your Mind. Is it your best friend or your worst enemy? So by the other chapters, we have realized by now that our beliefs are not always truths. They're just beliefs. You have understood why you believe what you do and how different influences may form your belief systems. Not all belief systems are positive, and it is the negative limiting beliefs that we need to work on. We need to reword and renew them. Now is the time where certain limiting beliefs may be transformed so they can become your best friend and not your worst enemy. And there's a beautiful diagram here with a quote. If you want to know someone's mind, listen to their words. If you want to know someone's heart, watch their actions. Dead giveaways. You know, and some people use words to impress or manipulate, but have no depth nor inner standing, which actually shows. And their thoughts and their actions betray the words they speak. So you are a person of your word? Or do you fragment yourself? Your word gives you away. Your actions show you who you are. Courage lives at the heart of this journey. We cling to the familiar and sometimes it kills us. We have to step beyond our comfort zone and make a leap of faith onto the growing edge of our soul. Faith in yourself is everything. I am soul. I am vast. I have a right to fully honour my sacred purpose. I decide how far I go on this path. I'm here for a reason, and I won't stop until I find it. That's from conversationswithnature.com. So I find that quote specifically really good. When I can't settle, and I will not settle for less, I remind myself of this quote, and I'll read it again. Courage lives at the heart of this journey, and the journey is life. We've all got to have courage. If we have a foundation of fear, then that's what your experiences are going to keep reflecting back to you, things to be afraid of. But if we can face our fears and stand on the foundation of courage, we're going to have a completely different experience. And comfort zones shrink over time. So we're not comfortable being at the edge of our comfort zone, your world's going to become very small and you're going to become so anxious about even the littlest things. So it's like, find that curiosity, find that excitement about being on the edge of your comfort zone. And it's different for everybody, but you've got to challenge yourself to grow. And that's how we do it, by being on the edge of our comfort zone, by facing our fears and deciding to use courage as your foundation and not fear. So it's courage that lives at the heart of this journey. We do, to remain open-hearted and not contracted and closed like so many in this world. It takes courage, because we know in this world that it's not a utopia. It's not a healthy, functioning society that we live in. So a lot of people do put up brick walls and barriers, and sometimes they need to, because the actual environment they live in is really dangerous, is really demonic and really unhealthy for them. So they do have to board themselves up to have some kind of survival, to survive their life. But I'm not speaking to those kind of situations. I'm talking to the situations where we've had difficult journeys, we've had difficult experiences, we live a somewhat comfortable life compared to those. I'm not going to not ignore those, but I'm not talking to those kind of experiences. I'm talking to the experiences of those who want to better themselves, want to live a long, healthy, happy life, that want to find love, that want to know themselves and find self-love, those that want to heal from their traumatic and or abusive experiences. It takes courage, and it takes great desire, because it's only through your efforts where you actually get to wherever it is that you want to get yourself. And we've got to back ourselves to do that. And it takes courage to want to do things differently in the face of so many things that may want to resist it or block you. however the story unfolds. So courage lives at the heart of this journey. We cling to the familiar, and sometimes it kills us. So clinging to the familiar is not always a healthy habit. It can be something very toxic. It can be something very destructive, but we cling to it because it's familiar. And just because, and we don't like it, we may hate it, we may bitch about it, gossip about it, but hey, I'm going to stay because it's familiar, because the fear of the unknown is greater than challenging what is familiar. That's not healthy either. So we cling to the familiar, and sometimes it kills us. We have to step beyond our comfort zone and make a leap of faith onto the growing edge of your soul. Faith in yourself is everything. It is. If you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to get anything done? How are you going to get anywhere? And there's steps to that. That's the Seeds of Change series. So faith in yourself is everything. I am a soul, you are a soul. I am vast, you are vast. We go beyond this physical outline of our bodies, our energies, how we interface, how we connect to people on the other side of the world. It goes way beyond this physical body. I have a right to fully honor my sacred purpose. And we do. We can, and this is the thing about free will and choice. I have a right to fully honor my sacred purpose. And in that, it comes down to there's so many people with different purposes on this planet. Just worry about your own. I decide how far I go. That's true. People like to point fingers and blame and make excuses that it's somebody else or it's something else. But it's not. It's your answer no to it that stops it. It's your resistance to it that blocks it. So you decide how far you go. I decide how far I go. And I am here for a reason. You are here for a reason. Even if it's just a reason to experience life, but for a brief moment. That's your reason. I'm here for a reason, and I won't stop until I find it. And even if that's living each day, and then at the time of my death, I will probably then know, I lived my purpose without even knowing I lived my purpose because I was alive. And it can be as simple as that. And so it's true. It's like, how deep do you want to go? How disciplined are you? How strong do you back your word? If you claim to want to heal, do you actually heal? Or are they just words that are coming out of your lips? That's an indication of what's going on in you. And you can always do something about that. Free will and choice. Because what it means is we're so used to being masky. We're so used to putting on masks and saying things that we think other people want to hear or should hear. And yet we've got this other completely different dialogue going on inside. That's really discordant energy, and that's going to have an impact on your body, your mind, your heart. It's not going to impact anyone else but you. When you cannot be a person of your word and you can't act honorably, they're an indication of who you are, not what somebody else is. And that's the energy you put out into the world. So they're the kind of experiences you're going to attract back into your life. By putting on this mask and pretending to be someone you're not. He's like, rip off the mask, be yourself, because then people will love you for who you are, who are meant to love you for who you are. And those that aren't resonant, you can part ways and go, yep, didn't resonate, not on the same page, not a judgment, just is. And you get on with your life so you can then cultivate a long, healthy, happy life for yourself. Because you just keep setting yourself up for more and more healing work. If you don't stop with the being discordant and not a person of your word and dishonorable, you just keep setting yourself up for more work down the track if you don't want to. And if not, depending on what you believe in, you'll be back again next lifetime to experience it all, and it's going to be more intense and more in your face. So you do get it. There's only so long that you can ignore something before it blows up in your face, and then you have to deal with it. So you need to be aware of what beliefs you hold inside your mind, your nature, your subconscious, so healing may occur. If you don't know yourself, then how are you ever going to heal? And knowing yourself also means the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. Accepting it all. Accepting your fears. Accepting your bad behavior. Accepting what you've done to people. Accepting what you've said about people. Accepting it all. So you can actually sit with it and work out, is that the kind of person I actually am? Well, then I'm going to go out and behave like that. Or you sit and look at it and you go, no, that's actually not who I am. I've armored up. I do this out of fear and to push people away or protect myself. You can do something about that if you want to. But you need to be aware of what your beliefs are. If you believe you are unworthy, and most people do, I did. If you believe you are unworthy, you are going to attract situations, people, experiences, connections, relationships that reflect that back to you, because that's what you believe. And it's not a conscious choice. It's not like we go out there and go, this is what I'm going to do. And this is where the getting to know yourself comes in, so you can start to change that belief, so you then can start attracting what you feel you are worth. And that can be an evolution in itself as it grows and evolves, and as you understand what it actually means to find your own self-worth, to back yourself and then support yourself. That in itself is a journey. It's just not all of a suddenly light bulb moment goes off and it's all, I know it all. It doesn't work like that. It unfolds over time, the true meaning of what that is for you, because your self-worth will keep deepening the more you back yourself, because you get to know yourself and you get to appreciate yourself, especially if you've lived a difficult experience. It can set up a lot of negative self-talk, and what we've got to do is look at those aspects of ourselves and love them, not critique them anymore, not judge them anymore, but actually bring them into the fold and care for them so they can heal and evolve. If you believe you are worthy, then you actually attract situations, people, experiences that support this belief. What you give out, you get in return. Like attracts like. So if you believe you are worthy, then you actually attract situations, people, experiences that support this belief. And you won't settle for less. And it doesn't, other people don't have to understand what that means for you, how that is for you, because it's about you. They've got to be working on their own self-worth and what they will settle for. And there does come a point where you just go, you know what, I'm not going to settle for less. I can't. I've been there, done that, tolerated far too much that was unhealthy. And my worth is better now, different now. It's better now. I know what it is that I want. And these are kind of the beliefs and thoughts that you've got to get to, not just think them, because if you don't believe them, it's not going to make a difference. You've really got to sit inside of yourself and believe, what are you worthy of? And if you feel you're not worthy of it, then I do suggest challenging that thought and changing it. And you can challenge yourself. We have to challenge ourselves. We've got to challenge those and not believe everything you think and not act on every emotion, but to challenge yourself. When a thought pops in that's so old and has been running around in your mind for I don't know how long, and you just keep letting it run around, it's like, listen to your inner language, listen how you talk to yourself, to other people, and challenge it and stop it. We've got to bring that consciousness back into our experiences instead of just being on autopilot and acting out like as if this is what we want people to see, instead of being real. And the most beautifulest people I have met, kind-hearted, will still mask because they still don't see the worth in just being themselves. It's really sad how we've gotten ourselves to this point in society. When you stop and listen to your inner chatter, you're able to glean insight into what beliefs you do hold, and about yourself, your life, others, and the world at large. You realize it's your beliefs, your mind, is either your best friend or your worst enemy. And I'd have to say for most people it's their worst enemy, because it's you doing it to you. It's no one else in there thinking and saying. We've just become so unconscious of that. and we don't understand or realize the repetition that we're setting up, the damage that we keep doing to ourselves. You know, people who put themselves down all the time. Where does that get you? Are you looking for sympathy? Are you looking through the victim mindset so you get more attention? It's not going to work out at the end of the day. It's look into yourself and find that worth, because each and every one of us are individuals in our own right, that have had our own experiences that we are actually here to do something about. That's worth something. So with your mind, is it your best friend, which is self-loving, self-believing, self-supportive, self-nurturing, self-esteemed, self-confidence, loving, open, receiving and giving, and it's courage-based. That's a mind that's your best friend. Your mind that's your worst enemy is self-loathing, self-doubting, self-destructive, selfish, controlling, judgmental, limited, closed, blocked, self-sabotage. That's fear-based. It's all fear-based. This is a quote by Eckhart Tolle. The primary cause of unhappiness is neither the situation, but rather thoughts about it. Be aware of the thoughts you are thinking. So the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Be aware of the thoughts you are thinking. And I was thinking about this morning, about the book, The 4 Agreements, and how not to take things personally. That's quite a journey as well, is learning not to take things personally, because we all do. We all think because how something happened is because of something we did, we said. It's all about us, so we make it personal. But in actual fact, it's just somebody else reacting to us. That's on them. And it's the same with us. Reacting to somebody, that's on us. It's not on them. So we don't take it personal. It's like I've had a bugbear for a long time, especially at my age. I'll be 59 this year. I've been called a girl. And when you look up the definition of the word girl, it's like, how old do I have to be before you're actually called a woman? And I'm not going into that other debate and debacle. So that's nothing to do with people saying that. That's a bugbear of mine, and a reflection of how society just doesn't use their words correctly, doesn't use the use of language and it's slang and everything else. So we've all got our bugbears. Someone I knew a long time ago had a bugbear about being called a dude, and that used to trigger him. So when I get called a girl, it's like I like to say something, and it's whether somebody does something about it, at least I've spoken up for myself and said, you know what? Can you not call me a girl? I'm actually a woman. I've been turning 59 this year, and I'm not a girl. Especially when you look up the true definition of the word. And yet people use it just so unconsciously. It's also similar to the words that younger people especially use the word like as a filler word. And they can't seem to stop saying it because we're just not conscious. We're so externally stimulated all the time. And we're so stimulated by out here, and there's no consciousness of coming into, I'm living from the inside out, I'm bringing my presence to this moment, let's slow it down, let's be present, and let's work with the energies of where you are and where you're at. Anyway, I do digress. So that was just my little bugbear. And the thing with fears also, because I was working on this the other week with rabbit and hawk, and it's your fears feed your courage. You can't have courage unless you got your fears. So they work together. So it's like, great, you've got fears. Awesome. Now use that as material to find your courage. Use that to feed your courage, like the rabbit feeds the hawk. And we always choose hawk over rabbit, literally, because the rabbit's down here running and the hawk's up here flying. But you choose hawk over rabbit because it's the natural order of things. If we stayed down here, we wouldn't get anything done. The worlds would get smaller and smaller. It would be a very contracted and unhealthy life. But those fears feed hawk, feed your courage. So that's where it finds the fuel to fly. That's where it finds the fuel to be courageous, is through your fears. Learn to flip the narrative. Learn to challenge, look at things differently. See if you can't find, and this is what opens up your mind, see if you can't find a different way of reacting to it, of responding to it, of asking the question, is this the only way that I can think about this situation? And there isn't, because there's as many people there are in this planet, is that many ways that you can look at any one situation. So flip the narrative. We all speak internally. We just do. We all have our own inner language. And I find the best times to hear what's going on in your mind, especially unconsciously, is those moments of coming up out of sleep, or those moments as you are falling into sleep. Very powerful times. You tend to be on your unconscious and your conscious are on the same wavelength. So that's also another time that you can start planting words of encouragement, planting words of love, and planting words of truth to yourself, not believing the lies. And we each hold different definitions, perspectives, and perceptions of words and phrases due to our own unique individualization, also known as the mind. So when I was speaking to someone and I used the word retarded, and they said, oh, can you use that word? And I'm like, well, of course you can. Have a look up at the true meaning of the word. I'm not using it as a slang. I'm not using it as a derogative term. I'm actually using it to describe our left-thinking brains now, because they are retarded and corrupted. Those thinking minds have become very small and easily influenced. We have lost the art of critical thinking. We have, like, getting the edge of your comfort zone, pushing our minds open even further, but always on the foundation of truth, not fantasy, truth. That's where the left-thinking brain has become retarded, and which is limited, retarded and corrupted. Oh, here we go. For example, if I was to say a word that triggers you, like snake, some people have a really strong fear of snake. I don't. I happen to think snakes are beautiful. I know the ones that are dangerous, but I don't have a fear of them. And so we all hold a different perception of words. So it's important to understand your own inner language. You get to understand your own inner language when you start paying attention to what you think. Listen to the judgments you speak about other people, because they're judgments you speak about yourself. You're just not owning it. When we change, the world changes. The key to all change is in our inner transformation, a change of our hearts and minds. This is human evolution. We all have the power to change. When we realize this truth, we can bring forth that power anywhere, anytime, in any situation. It does take practice as well. So I'll read that again. When we change, the world changes. The key to all change is in our inner transformation, which is a change of our hearts and change of mind. This is human evolution. We all have the power to change. When we realize this truth, we do. We all have the power to change. Free will and choice. You either choose you want to change and be a person of your word and back that and do that, or you don't. You don't change. You become stagnant. But we can all change. When we realize this truth, we can bring forth that power anywhere, anytime, in any situation. It's a good reminder. That was a beautiful quote. So how do you know if your mind is your best friend or worst enemy? Well, at times they are either one or the other. And they can be. Depending upon your story, depending upon your level of awareness, education, level of being able to self-reflect, self-correct and self-soothe. How are you able to own all of your beingness and doingness? It can be our best friend, and it can also be our worst enemy. And at times they are either one or the other. Sometimes even both if you're not aware. Most people have moments, times, days, months where we feel happy and all is flowing with life. You know that? And you realize that just everything's bubbling along and everything's crazy. Your heart's open, you feel good, life is flowing. Nothing going on in here. It's all just humming. It's all just humming harmonically. And then we have moments and times and days where we can't seem to shift the dark mood we're in. And we feel contracted and we feel judged and we feel small, and just the mind plays into that. And energy levels too. And this is why I've included mind, matter, magic, because the mind plays a big role. But what we put into this matter, this body, that also matters. And then it's also what we do with the unseen worlds, the spiritual worlds, the energy world, source, God, field. That also plays a huge role into our experiences. So sometimes we can't seem to shift the dark mood we're in. And I've been there, done that. I don't call it a black dog. I call it a black cloak. Because it was like up behind me, this big heavy darkness, and it felt like it was above me and around me. The front of me was all clear, but that darkness was just all back and around me. And in my mind's eye, as I sat there in the energy and meditation, I turned to face it. I turned to face it and I met it. I went, hello, okay. I have a darkness sometimes. I have depression sometimes. I get low sometimes. And I'm okay with that now, because it goes hand in hand with being sensitive, being an intuitive, being an empathic, being psychic, being a healer. Because you get to see, you're aware of the heaviness in the world, you're aware of the darkness in the world. And sometimes when I'm tired, sometimes when that just seems to be up in the field for so many other reasons, it's more prevalent than other times. But it doesn't mean I don't lose my awareness around it. And I can acknowledge it, but I don't put it in the driver's seat. Maybe in the boot, maybe in the back seat, but it's not in the driver's seat. I still get to choose and accept, okay, this is what I'm feeling. What are my tools? How am I going to help myself shift this? Do I want to shift this? Is there a message in this for me? Is there something that I'm not leaning into that I need to be leaning into? And that can be grief sometimes. Sometimes we need to touch that grief to give it that reprieve, to remind us of how we feel and what's actually going on unconsciously. Because again, we live in a world that's so busy and demands our attention all the time. We live so externally stimulated that we forget there's a whole world inside that sometimes needs touching on. Then there are experiences that leave you feeling reactive and defensive, or aggressive and attacking. These moments and experiences are great opportunities to notice what it is you are or have been actually thinking. One of the greatest challenges in creating a joyful, peaceful, and abundant life is taking responsibility for what you do and how you do it. One of the greatest challenges in creating a joyful, peaceful, and abundant life is actually taking responsibility for what you do and how you do it. As long as you can blame someone else, be angry with somebody else, point the finger at someone else, you are not taking responsibility for your own life. And that's that quote there. And that is from, oh, I can't read the name, but it's from Simple Reminders. And I love it. And I'll read it again because it's so true. We have such a fear of taking responsibility because it's like we own your mistakes. It's like nobody's perfect. Every great master started out as a novice. And the only time they don't become masters is when they choose to give up. It's not failing. They just choose to stop and give up instead of keep practicing, because everything is a practice till you master it. So one of the greatest challenges in creating a joyful, peaceful, and abundant life is taking responsibility for what you do and how you do it. As long as you can blame someone else, be angry with somebody else, point the finger at someone else, you are not taking responsibility for your life. When the reality of there is no one else making you feel anything but you finally hits home, you no longer blame, but rather go about changing your awareness, understanding universal truths and law. You choose to start raising your consciousness so you can actually begin to live a long, peaceful, loving, happy, abundant life. When you understand that you are a powerful creator, manifester, and your world is a product of your creation, you realize the responsibility you hold in doing your part to help this world. We are not meant to stay wounded. Read here. Bitter, angry, resentful, fearful, sad, alone, rejected, abandoned, betrayed, victimized, martyr, etc. So we're not meant to stay wounded. We are supposed to move through our tragedies and challenges and to help each other move through the many painful episodes of our lives. By remaining stuck in the power of our wounds, we block our own transformation. This is a quote by Carolyn Myss. So we're not meant to stay wounded. We are supposed to move through our tragedies and challenges and to help each other move through the many painful episodes of our lives. And some people have had many. Some people's stories make mine look like a skip in the park. And I take my hat off to them. But we're not meant to stay wounded. Sometimes those challenges to move beyond those wounds are huge. And the things that you've got to do, you've got to strategize. It's not something that overnight it can be done. Sometimes it takes strategy, and sometimes that strategy takes a very long time to implement. But at least you're walking yourself towards it. So we're not meant to stay wounded. We are supposed to move through our tragedies and challenges and to help each other move through the many painful episodes of our lives. By remaining stuck in the power of our wounds, we block our own transformation. We overlook the greater gifts inherent in our wounds, the strength to overcome them, and the lessons that we are meant to receive through them. Wounds are the means through which we enter the hearts of other people and ourselves. They are meant to teach us to become compassionate and wise. And they do, if you choose to do the work. If you stay in victim and keep pointing the finger, you're not going to shift that. But once you understand that people tend to give us the test, not the lessons, and then we work out the lessons and we pass the test. We level up, do it differently. And it's a journey. It's cyclic, yes, but it's a spiral. We spiral down into it. And that's why sometimes we come around to something again and we go, oh, haven't I worked on this? Didn't I heal this? But you'll notice when it comes back around, it's not exactly the same. There will be a difference. Even if it's slight, at least it's a difference. And you're spiraling maybe very slowly or very tightly down to the core and truth of it. And then you'll find that you'll spiral back up out of it. And again, you'll meet it again. And you, didn't I heal this? And you go, yeah, I have. But I've just become aware of something else about this. I'm healing that again. And you spiral out to the point where you're moving on. You're able then to me, it's like reconciling. So when I think of reconciling, I think of bringing those ledgers down to zero. And it's not wiping one out, or it's not ignoring it or suppressing it. It's just realizing I've reconciled with it. That's my story. That's part of who I am. Can't change it. But it's no longer a trigger. It's just a part of me. And so you're able to reconcile it. So when we can start to reconcile with things, to me, we zero it out. So it doesn't keep having that knife that can be stuck into us and twisted around, or it can trigger you or be a blind spot or a weak spot. So the greatest weapon against stress, and it's very stressful lives that we lead, isn't it? This is where finding the balance is so important between work, rest and play, all very vital. So the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. And that's from William James. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. Do you keep choosing the same thoughts? Or do you choose a different thought so you can do something different, so you can shift the stress? If you stay stuck in belief systems that are not of your making, but rather that of close influence, then your world will reflect back to you what it is you believe, reinforcing it even more. Say it is a belief system that when it's worded reads, I have to be seen to be doing the right thing even though it goes against what I want to do. You would experience that you notice strongly what other people think, and disapproval then doesn't sit well with you. Sooner or later, this will intensify to whether you either sit with a cloud over you and diminish, or you challenge this belief and shine. So the belief system could be, I have to be seen to be doing the right thing, even though it goes against what I want to do. People are going to pick up on that incongruency anyway. And what you will experience that is what other people are thinking, and disapproval won't sit well with you. So you'll always be, you won't be backing yourself. You'll actually be ignoring yourself and putting other people ahead of yourself, and it may be something really unhealthy. And you're going to do it, but you don't want to do it. You want to be seen to do the right thing according to those people or that environment or that experience or that situation, but it may go against what you truly want to do. Who do you think that's going to end up damaging? And then you're hurting other people by saying yes to something when really you should be saying no. And you'll be hurting yourself because you're not listening to yourself and you're prioritizing something that you don't want to do over yourself. Can you see how that doesn't work well? Each person's inner journey is different. However, the journey must be taken, and will be taken by one spirit, whether the ego wants it or not. One can suppress, deny, avoid, but the journey will continue nonetheless, even beyond death. Think about soul work, spirit work. Better to have a good boat, good tools, supportive spirit kin, and an adventurous heart. Then the journey will be much more fulfilling, insightful, and enjoyable. Life is an adventure. Live it. So shine. So a good boat would be your body. Good tools would be your wisdom. Supportive spirit kin would be your loved ones. And an adventurous heart would be you. So is your mind your best friend or your worst enemy? Do you back yourself or do you abandon yourself? Do you support yourself or do you neglect yourself? Now is the time, and it's not going to happen overnight, so don't overwhelm yourself. Just start with baby steps. 1% improvement each day is all you need to do, and we can all manage 1% improvement. So you could change that thought of where you call yourself a loser. Change that language to something else and let that be the snowball. As it gathers more, it gets bigger, it gets easier, it gets stronger. But you've got to start planting those seeds so that your mind does become your best friend and you do live a healthy, long, happy life. Anyway, that's enough for today. So take good care. Aho, amen. So mote it be.